Let's run through how to master styles in Squarespace. And what you're looking at here at the outset is a page. It's about halfway created. And I created this intentionally to get a jump start on things here, shorten the video, but also I'm just going to assume you know how to set a text box, set a button, more on those in a second, how to just add a form, add an accordion block. You get the idea. We're going to be in this edit window here the bulk of the time. Now, like I said, all I did was add a text box, so you can always duplicate an existing text box, or you can go to add block and add any content block that you like. And we're going to add a few more content blocks in here. And to do that, we simply just click on text and we get a text block right here. We can drag it around and we can put text in it and tell it what style we want that text to be. That's really all that's happened here. So now that you're up to speed, I create what's called a style check page. It is a series of sections. I typically add them as blank sections and then typeset all the different fonts and options, except for monospace. And then set the different button types. There is P button, that's primary button, secondary button, and tertiary button, because there's three basic button styles that are built into your Squarespace account, right? And then there's two types of buttons that matter to me in general, and that is the fill type, which fills the entire content block as you see here on the page. And then there's the fit type, which reduces the button down to fit the contents. And I like putting the second, that second sort of set there because I want to manage the spacing vertically and horizontally inside of there to make sure there's enough padding. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a minute. The next most common content type is a form. Most people put a contact us page with a form, and other forms for getting in touch with you or your client for a number of reasons. I didn't do any customization here, but there's two types of forms in my brain. One is a basic form block, and the other one is a form block with a background color turned on, which is under design and background right here. Turn that on. That's all that is. Nothing else has been done here. And I'm going to show you why I do that in a second. And we're going to have a bunch of sections on this page. So I apologize if you run out of RAM and it's running a little bit slow. Same thing for the accordion blocks. The next section I like to create, and like I said, I add a blank section by clicking section. And in this, I want to put shape blocks. I use shape blocks a lot. I also use image blocks and video blocks, obviously a ton, but those are more editable at the sort of placement level and not site-wide from a style level, with a few exceptions, and we'll probably get into that here at the end. The other one would be line. I don't usually do one for scrolling text. And then other ones might be summary block, newsletter block. We're gonna add those in as well. Now the shape block, like I mentioned, just place a shape. That's all I do, and then I duplicate it and I move it. And I'm less interested in managing the styles of the different shapes that are available to us. And I know that's where your mind went, because they're all gonna be the same style no matter what. The big difference would be when it comes to the style sheet. That's what I mean. The big difference here would be the color. So I want to try different colors and shades that are on my palette here. And like I said, oops, I didn't duplicate it. Which shape doesn't really matter. If you want to have some fun, look, pick a different shape. It's fine. Change it from to one of your secondary colors, and maybe don't stretch that particular shape. And then I want to make another shape. Let's put it down below. We'll go 3 wide here for no particular reason other than I kind of dig symmetry. Now I'm going to put a white block here. You're going to see why in a minute. and duplicate that one. Let's have some more fun. We'll go with a triangle. And we don't have any more colors here, right? But I do want to pick my primary color, the one I defaulted to here in this particular color section, and put the opacity at 50%. Now, I've got 6 different color blocks here, and the next section we want to do is insert blank. Done. The next one we want to put in here is a line. I want to see what the lines look like. And the size, the actual size of these, it doesn't really matter. There are not a lot of styles when it comes to lines. There's like animations and design. You can transform them, but they just come in basically one color. And now the reason, and this is really tall, let's make it small. The reason why I create all of these is threefold, I suppose. One, I want to see how the settings, the sizes, and I've done some adjustment here. This is not a default theme. I want to see how the sizes of my headings and my paragraph size styles cascade. I want to make sure that there's good size balance. I don't want an H2 that's the same size as the H1 or the H3 or too close. I want to see good descending order in that hierarchy if you're using headers in a traditional way. The next thing I want to see, and this is one that a lot of websites trip on, and this one's kind of doing it here, but not too bad, would be paragraph style, paragraph 1 especially, in both regular weight and bold weight. Because I know a lot of people like to smash that bold button. Personally, I'm not a fan, but knock yourself out. There are certainly instances. One button you'll never see me hit is italic. I can't condone that behavior, so I won't be showing you italics in here. Though I respect that there are some fonts that it works pretty well in, but most italics look like crap, and there's no need to be yelling. Now, I'm off my soapbox. One thing that I find often is that the paragraph 1 weight in bold and the heading 4 often are a little too close. And I think they're too close here. So that's an adjustment that we want to make. And I'm going to show you how to make that adjustment in just a minute. The next adjustment I want to make would be, I think we need more padding inside of these buttons. And I think the styles for the secondary button and the tertiary button are too similar. Now it depends. It's pretty rare that you have a practical use case for the tertiary button, but it happens. Next, I think we need better margins and contrast here. And I think I would want to use a different color on this color theme for this section for the background of the forms, because I don't like the contrast here. I think it's a little too low. And also, I'm not crazy about this borderline. It looks way too Web 1.0. I think we also have some spacing issues inside of our accordion with the background. And I also think that this text could probably use to be treated a little bit better. Now, the reason why I create all this, I'm going to save it, is because I want to see, like I said, the first reason is I want to see how my text cascades. I want to see how each one of these sections and content blocks is treated. The second is, if you are aware, I'm going to hit this edit section button over here on the right as I hover over this section with all the heading and paragraph text in it. Under this colors tab over here, all the way to the right, you can see that this website has several color sections, right? You've got lightest 1, lightest 2, light 1, light 2, bright 1, bright 2, dark 1, dark 2, darkest 1, darkest 2. And even here, we've got some pretty bad contrast. And this is an okay place to check that at a high level, but it's a tough place to get into details. So this is where this page gets pretty long. And what we're going to do is get all of our content set on this style check page. Every single one of these content blocks inside of each one of these sections is going to be duplicated. So I simply duplicate this section. And we got to make 8 of these. So we were on lightest 1 up here, right? Color. See how we're on lightest 1? Next, we're going to go to lightest 2. And you can see probably some color and contrast issues here. The same thing could be said if I duplicate that again and say colors light 1, duplicate again, colors light 2. So you get the idea. I'm not going to make you watch me do that 8 times for every single one of these sections. But I will do one for the buttons. We'll go, whoops, duplicate it first. There we go. And forms. Because oftentimes forms will be popped onto a section, or sometimes to create great contrast, we'll use a dark section, right? And I'm not saying that these styles are nice. They're absolutely not. But what I am saying is that once I go to the style palette, I don't want to be bouncing back and forth between adding content blocks on this style check page and opening the style palette. So by building out this monstrosity of a style page, right? And which ones we do, I don't know if it matters that much. Nobody wants to read on pink. And duplicate the shapes one. You're going to see how the shapes sometimes get kind of bonkers. Darkest one. Now, I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to hit this paintbrush up here in the top right. We scroll all the way to the top. We got a paintbrush. That's where all the styles hide. And you can see now we can go through our styles and address all of the content issues that we've laid out all the way down the entire page. And once you've got 30 sections in here, one section dedicated to each content block, and then duplicated for each color style, then you can see what the content looks like across the board, because it gets really in-depth in here. And I'm going to show you how bananas that gets in just a second. First, I think that our heading 4 size needs to come up. I'm going to go in this font, and heading 4 needs to come up just a little bit because it's too close to our paragraph 1. There we go. Done. And you can see that cascades throughout. And we're using the same font in here for headings and paragraphs. So if we were to use a different font for paragraphs, that issue may not be as apparent, like if, say, our paragraphs were Georgia or, Palantino. You get the idea, right? So in general, fonts, backing out now and going to colors. And you click this arrow here, and you're going to see this same list. Now, fortunately, it separates the ones that are on this page and the themes that are not currently on the page. You can see I didn't make any pink background sections. And that's okay for the sake of this example, but I do literally build it out for every single color theme with every single content block. And what I have is, because I'm a Circle member, I have it saved to my account, but you could also save these sections in a way like in an account and then maybe duplicate that page. There are different ways of trying to reduce the overall time required to accomplish this task. Now, inside of each one of these, and I'm going to scroll down here to one with a little more color. Like, say, button contrast is not real strong in this light 1 section with these buttons, right? So we're going to go to light 1, hit this pencil, and you're going to see every single content block that is added to this page has its own color settings that are completely customizable. And the one we're going to look for here for this section would be the buttons. But if we were in, say, light 2, or light 1, here's light 1 with the text. And like I said, I think, well, the contrast here is pretty fine. Oh, it's this one where the contrast wasn't great. So in light 2, we would go to headings and switch that over to our dark color. And the reason why I don't like using a custom color for this, I want to use a color that's in the palette, is that if we ever change the color in the palette, the color being used by every content asset will change automatically. Huge time saver. If you go using custom colors, you pick any random color in here that you want, that's fine. But do know if we change the color palette at the top level, that color won't be affected. And if you've got a bunch of pages and content set, I hate it for you. So I'm going to go back to my button style here in light 1. Like I said, I don't think we've got enough contrast in here. So just like I found header text a moment ago, in that light 2 section, I want to scroll all the way down to buttons, and you can see primary, secondary, and tertiary buttons, both the background color and the text. And these are nice to make the adjustment to, because it really does help with the contrast. Now with the tertiary, we could go with a white. We can keep that light. We can go pink, which is probably going to be a little dancey, a little noisy on here, but I got another idea for the tertiary buttons anyway. I'm going to show you in just a second. So there, now we've got better color contrast, and now we know every time a button is added to a section using the light 1 color theme, that color is going to change. The same thing goes for lightest 1 right here where the form is. Like I said, I wanted to change that color. Lightest 1. And we go down to form. Where is it? It's way down. Let me hit Command F and do form. Form fields, background, button background. Form background. Here we go. So if we change this form background color to be pink or dark blue, obviously we'd have a text issue. This is the color it was. One thing we can do to lighten this up and stay on theme from a color perspective would be to reduce the opacity. Right? So then now that form will have better contrast and still be on brand with its color management. And that stroke color is, it's really not good, the inputs. But we manage that in another place. And that's not a Squarespace issue. That is 100% a setup issue. Let me show you where to do that while we're here. Because next up, that's how you edit the color of every single content asset in here. And that goes for all of the content block types. The next one is buttons, like I mentioned a minute ago. And then we'll get into the forms. You can see that hideous form sort of outline around the fields. But like I mentioned, the tertiary button style, let me click this arrow here, is too similar to the secondary button style. So I like to pick a different style for that. And the way we do that is we do that again for you. Click on tertiary, and then we click on shape. And there's a pill shape, there's an underline shape, which I really like for tertiary buttons. They don't get used a lot, and oftentimes on hover, like you can see, it fills in as a button type. And the next thing I mentioned on these buttons that I don't love, we can adjust it here, is the amount of padding in the fit mode. Fill mode almost always has enough padding between the exterior of the button shape and the text, right? So the thing I would want to do here with this secondary button is adjust the horizontal, and you can see it go, and the vertical slightly, and the same with primary. Let's make a primary button nice and big. And it is good practice to make those the same, but I don't think it's critical because there are very few instances in which you will put a primary button and a secondary button right next to each other unless you're setting someone up with two options. So if this was, say, 2.5 wide and 1.1 tall, then we could go to, and I'm not sure if you knew this, but you can just type these in and save yourself drag and drop time. So there we go. We got an update to our buttons now, and they're looking a little bit better with the amount of negative space around them. I don't love that white background, but I want to show you how to edit the forms because I know we're a few minutes in here. I'm going back up to the top styles menu, and we're looking at the form, and there I'm going to hit this arrow here besides the form option, and you can see that there are different form types. There is square, the one we're using now. There is rounded corners, and I clicked it, and you can see those change. Those are pretty common. And then totally rounded edges, which are fine. I don't love them for this brand. I'm going to go with the rounded corners and turn the border off entirely. Now, we could keep the border on and go with a better color, but I think that they're not always necessary. Now there's effects, which I wouldn't go crazy with the effects with the accent where you hover on them and they highlight. Same thing with the opacity. So all of these options are in here. Make a form that you love. And I don't know why that form button is a pill. Oh, I know why, because our primary button is a pill. So I'm not sure that matches with the text blocks, but anyway, that's just me being a dork. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Just continue duplicating sections and checking to see that the colors match and the colors work and the spacing works. Like I mentioned under the accordion, although I changed the font here, I would like to see better contrast. I'll show you where that is actually. It is just like in the forms. If I come into section color, you can see is lightest one. If I click lightest one and come and hit Command F and go accordion, you're going to see accordion block, background color. Go with pink, you can go with white, you can go with a custom color, maybe make it a nice light gray. Always pleasant, easy on the eye, right? Or you can go to the palette and pick a palette color and reduce the opacity down like we did with the form. And that way, if that color ever changes, then you'd know, oh, it changed, fortunately, with the colors of the site. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Like and subscribe for more tips and tricks on how to do some more advanced or time-saving things in your Squarespace website. And bang out a style check page and see what all your styles look like across your entire site. You might be surprised that there are areas that need some retouching. And I hope to see you in the next one.